Hey guys, it's Morgan. Today I wanted to talk about some books that I've recently read, and I'm just hoping that my neighbours don't walk past and think I'm crazy for talking to myself. But yeah, so currently I'm off work because I was feeling a bit unwell, so my bosses were being a bit cautious and just said just have the week off to be safe. I will be going back to work either at work or from home, but it's all up in the air at the moment. But I thought I would film a video talking about books, and hopefully it will distract someone. If you guys are out there self-isolating, hopefully it can be a distraction for you, or yeah, it just can be some entertainment while you're at home. The first book that I want to talk about is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Isn't that a beautiful cover? Oh my gosh, I love it. So I really enjoyed this book. The trouble is, you know when you enjoy a book and you enjoy the first 2/3 and then the last third, it just kind of falls flat. I feel like it just dampens how much you enjoy the book. So I did really enjoy the majority of this book, but then the end of it just kind of ruined it a little bit for me. Overall it was really good, but you know when you look back on a book and because the end of it wasn't as good, you don't remember it as good, but it was good and I do recommend this. I gave it 4 stars. So this book, if you haven't heard of it, it's pretty popular, but if you haven't heard of it, it's a fantasy. It's about a girl called Elizabeth, and in her world, I'm just waiting for my neighbours to walk past. This is a YA fantasy and it is set in sort of Victorian times, I would say, and basically in this world there's magic, there's sorcerers and demons, and the sorcerers get their magic from these demons that they summon, and sorcerers have also created these grimoires, so there are these giant libraries filled with all these grimoires. It's very like, if you like Harry Potter libraries and that whole vibe, it's very similar. Well, not similar, but it's that whole like library vibe. We love this. And our main character Elizabeth has grown up in one of these libraries and is training to become a warden to work in one of these libraries, and her whole life she's been taught that sorcerers are evil, but then she is thrown into the path of a sorcerer and his demon, and she just realizes that maybe what she's been told her whole life in these giant libraries, maybe she's been lied to. So what I didn't like about this book was sort of the plot. It was very obvious in certain ways. It wasn't like I guessed everything that was going to happen, but you find out who the villain is very early on, and from there it just follows a very straight line plot with no really big surprises. And then at the end, you know when there's like normally like one big fight scene and it's like climactic and it's great, this one had like multiple, and after like the first couple it was just kind of like, okay, we get it, can it be done now? At least that was my opinion. I just felt like there was a lot of fight scenes and I got bored. But that doesn't mean I don't recommend this book. I really enjoyed the characters, they were so great. The main character Elizabeth, I really liked her, and then her romantic interest Nathaniel, I really liked. So I really enjoyed the characters of this one, and at the end of the day, even though the plot sort of fell flat for me at the end, I would read a sequel just because I really like the characters. I would definitely recommend this one if you're after a fantasy, and like a fantasy centered on like books and magic and sorcerers and a little bit of romance. The next book I want to talk about is The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. Oh my gosh, you guys, so this book is so good. I've only ever heard one other booktuber talk about it. It was Naya from Naya Reads and Smiles. So this is by Kristin Hannah, and I know that she's most famous for, it's actually on the bottom, The Nightingale That's the book that she's most famous for. I actually just had a look inside. She's written quite a few books. I gave this one 5 stars. So it's a historical fiction novel set in the 70s. It's about a family that moves to Alaska, and basically it's about them learning to live in the wilderness, and they have never lived anywhere like it. But it's not just them struggling to live. There's sort of family struggles as well. There's a lot of family dynamics going on, so if you like family dynamics, you will like this. Basically the dad is a Vietnam veteran, so he's struggling with PTSD, and so there is, I would give trigger warning for abuse. There is family abuse in this book. It's very hard to read, but this book was such an emotional roller coaster. We follow our main character Leanie from the age of 13, and we follow her throughout her whole life, so it really follows her whole story. And I am really intrigued by books that are about survival and about living in the wilderness, so this, if you're into that, I would definitely recommend this. Yeah, they're living in Alaska, which is insane, and they've never lived there before or lived anywhere similar, so they have no idea what they're doing. But so it's just Leanie, our main character, and her mum and dad, and you follow their relationships. And then Leanie has a relationship, a romance, and you follow her throughout her whole life as she's dealing with everything, dealing with the abuse from her dad, and learning to live where she lives, and you watch her grow up, and it's really good. I definitely recommend. The next book I want to talk about is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Oh my gosh, I really loved this book. So it is a fantasy about witches, and there's a lot of, it's mostly centered on a romance between our main character Lou and her love interest Reed. But basically Lou is a witch and Reed is a witch hunter. So this world is, it's a French inspired setting, fantasy world, and there are witches that everyone knows about and they're sort of deemed evil, and then there are witch hunters, and there's this sort of organization that go around killing witches because they believe them evil. And basically this is a hate to love story, where Lou and Reed, they meet, and Reed doesn't know that Lou is a witch, and they end up having to get married, by some turn of fate they end up having to get married, and it's love to hate, and it follows their relationship, and then follows them as the war between witches and witch hunters comes to a head, and yeah, the romance ensues. But yeah, I gave this one 5 stars, so I definitely recommend if you want to read a book about witches, and if you want a great romance with a real like feisty character. Lou is real feisty and Reed is like more serious, so it's really good. The next book I want to talk about is Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi, and oh my gosh you guys, this book is so freaking cute. You have to read it if you love romance and just really cute characters. Basically it's following our 2 main characters, Penny Lee and Sam, and it's about them meeting, and they're both very socially awkward, and then they sort of meet and they get each other's numbers, and we follow their relationship as they're just pretty much communicating over text, and that's like their whole relationship, and then eventually they meet again in person and they hang out in person, but basically we follow their whole relationship, and it's adorable. They're so awkward and so cute, and they're just very realistic characters, so it was really cool to read. If you like character study books, I would definitely recommend this. You get to know the characters so well and so in depth, and they're really likable, so yeah, I definitely recommend if you want a cute romance. Oh, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I want to talk about is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. So this is a paranormal novel. I believe it is adult or new adult at least, and people have been calling this like dark academia, which I'd never heard of until this book, but I really enjoyed, so that's good. If you like dark academia, I can recommend this. This book is about Yale and the secret societies at Yale who sort of do occult activities, and basically we follow our main character Alex, who has always been sort of involved in the paranormal world, not by choice, but she is. I don't want to give too much away. So she's always sort of had one foot in the paranormal world, and her life hasn't been that great. She's had a really troubled past, and all of that comes to a head, and she is asked to attend Yale University to sort of keep an eye on these secret societies and keep them under control. And then there is a murder, or a few murders I believe, and no one really cares because they're just going about their occult activities. So she is the only one that really cares and is trying to figure out who is doing this murdering. I really liked Alex as a character. I was rooting for her hardcore. I really liked her. So that was kind of what kept me going through this. I really did enjoy this book. The vibe, I guess, which is dark academia, I really enjoyed the vibe, enjoyed everything about it, and enjoyed following Alex. I did have trouble with the secret societies. There was a lot of secret societies and it was really hard to keep track of, and then because of that I did find the plot a little bit confusing, just because I couldn't keep track of all the secret societies and all of it. But I really liked Alex, so that kept me going, and there was a little bit of a romance which I did enjoy, and I hear there is going to be another sequel, so I will definitely be picking that up to see what keeps happening to Alex and follow along. And I gave this one 4 stars. So those are all the books that I have to talk about today. I have plenty more to recommend, so if you want another video like this, just let me know in the comments down below and I can make another one. And if you have any other suggestions for videos, let me know. But that is it for now, and I will see you guys soon.